You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. Interestingly, hearing Charles Turner talk about the offensive line depth, and I couldn't help but think what a contrast this was to a year ago. Do you realize a year ago at this point, Charles Turner was not LSU's starting center? A year ago at this point, Garrett Dellinger was running first-team center. A guy who hadn't snapped the ball in a game ever. That's such a stark contrast to where now you've got Charles Turner, your returning starter at center, who has to hold off Marlon Martinez, who is getting first-team reps, who played meaningful snaps late in the year last year, played very well. It's pretty staggering, the about face from a season ago. And Charles Turner talked about that. You know, not just the competition there at center, but just the competition on the offensive line.
The offensive line, man, we're just competing every day, man. We're working our butts off. And, you know, Brad Davis tells us every day, like, he handles our room like a pro room. Like, you mess up, you're going to get taken out. And it's going to be that next man's upturn. So, like, it's just a matter of, you know, it's not pressure, but it is pressure as well, too, on us. But it's like we know our expectations. And if we want a national championship, how about we say we want a national championship, this is what comes with it. You know what I'm saying? It's competitive. We're competing every day, you know, guys. We all love each other, of course. You know, it's a good camaraderie room. We're all close. But at the end of the day, we know we're all competing against each other, too.
You know, when I look at where there's real competition, though, battles for a starting spot, center, I think, is the only spot that I see. Will Campbell is your left tackle. Garrett Dellinger and Miles Frazier are your starters at guard. And Emory Jones is your starting right tackle. We mentioned 6 of your top 7 linemen from a year ago are back. That's Turner and Martinez, who are battling for the starting job at center. Now, I still believe Charles Turner started 12 games at center a year ago. Martinez started the other 2. It's going to take a lot for Martinez to unseat Charles Turner. I could see a world where they both play. Now, that's a little uneasy because it's not just rotating in a lineman, it's rotating in someone who has to know the quarterback's cadence. So if you're going to make a change there or rotate centers, you have to be really convicted that both guys have to be on the field. Otherwise, you pick the starter and you roll with him. I mean, because that's someone who's handling the cadence. With the quarterback center exchange, every single play. You don't need me to explain that to you, but that's why that position, you want it to be solidified. But that's where the battle is right now in fall camp. Your other starters are solidified. I think the big question is, when someone does go down, who would be the next up? Like, we know Martinez can play center and guard. You know, Lance Hurd is taking all the reps at second-team right tackle. And physically, he's not swimming physically. He belongs. That shouldn't surprise you. The guy was a 5-star. I mean, it's actually really funny when you think about how big of a human that Emory Jones is, and to see him next to Lance Hurd, and he looks small. Like, Emory Jones is listed at 6'6", 315. Lance Hurd, they have at 6'6", 340. I'm here to tell you, Lance Hurd may be 6'6", 340. Emory's not 6'6", 315. He may be 315, but he ain't 6'6". Like, Lance Hurd is 2-3 inches taller than Emory Jones, and he's certainly got 30 pounds on him. And Emory's a big dude, a big, strong guy. We saw him. He started as a true freshman in the SEC. He was awesome. So, you know, who else, though, are your rotational guys? I think is the really interesting question. Would Martinez be your next man up at either of the guard spots? Maybe. You know, we've talked about Mason Lunsford. Mason Lunsford is the transfer who's come in from Maryland, who played a lot of ball at Maryland during his career there. He started 10 times a year ago at Maryland in the Big Ten. So he's played in 29 games with 26 starts. That's a dude who's played a ton of football. But if I'm being very candid with you, watching him out there, they got him listed at 6'7", 300. He looks smaller than that. And I think I've seen a technique from a lot of LSU's interior linemen against Lunsford is to bull rush him because they feel like they got a strength advantage on him. Maybe they do. So is he the next guy up on the interior? I've raved about Beau Bordelon. Beau Bordelon might be, so far through a week of camp, a week plus of camp, I think Beau Bordelon is the most improved offensive lineman I've seen. Maybe the most, I would say Beau Bordelon and Chris Hilton are the two most improved players on the team that I've seen, where you look and you go, that, like, Chris Hilton's got to play. I don't know, because you're so deep and talented at receiver, how much does he play? How many targets does he get? I don't know. But that kid's too good not to play him. Like, he's got to be out in the field. I'm not telling you Beau Bordelon's gonna steal anybody's spot, but what I am telling you is that guy is going to be a starter at LSU in his career. I mean, I would be very surprised if Beau Bordelon doesn't become a starter on this offensive line in his career. Look, I mean, you've got Will Campbell and Emory Jones at your tackles right now. You got Lance Hurd, who's really the next guy up, clearly. But they got Beau Bordelon running his second-team left tackle. And he belongs. He could play left tackle for a lot of schools in this league right now. It's probably not going to happen for him this year because of the guys that are ahead of him. And, I mean, Will Campbell's got another year as well at left tackle. So as does Emory Jones. So, when does that opportunity happen? Is it maybe at guard instead of tackle just to get him in the rotation? I don't know. But he's been impressive. It's something Mike Denbrock talked about when we got to talk with Mike Denbrock, was the depth at that position across that offensive line.
I think that's a work in progress, as it always is along the offensive line, especially when you have some true freshmen who are kind of dipping their toe in the two deep. That's going to be a minute, and as much as anything, have we seen things from each one of them that are really kind of catch your eye and go, boy, that's awesome. He's got a chance. There has been, and from all of those younger kids across the front, I think Mason Lunsford has made some good contributions and will provide some depth inside as well. So I like the additions to the room, whether those are true freshmen or Mason in particular, who will add, I think, some depth to the position. I think it's going to be a minute before we get to the point where we kind of solidify who's going to exactly be where. But there's a lot of really good material to work with there, and I know Coach Davis is excited about it.
You're just in a dramatically different spot than a year ago. I know I've said this before, but if you remember LSU's first offensive series of the season last year against Florida State, first play of the game, Jaden Daniels, broken down play, scrambled left end for 25 yards. They completed a pass on the second play deep into Florida State territory. They looked like they were about to go bang, bang, score. Threw a ball into the end zone for Kayshawn that he got his hands on it but couldn't bring it in. And then LSU ended up with a goal-to-go situation, and Garrett Dellinger snapped the ball over Jaden Daniels' head, and it killed that drive. So your offensive line literally from the first series of the season was an issue. And now you turn around, and it is a very real strength. So that unit will continue to develop, but there's a real reason why, if you're an LSU fan, one of the reasons you should draw a lot of optimism about this team. Yes, of course, all the returning skill guys, a fifth-year quarterback, all the talent at receiver, 8 running backs, all the tight ends that they keep gushing over, including Mason Taylor, who looks poised for an even better year than he had a season ago as a freshman. But, man, it starts up front in the trenches, and this is a unit that belongs. A year ago, you did not have that. You had rotation, you have chaos, you had learning on the fly, building the bridge as you crossed it. This year, you're going in with a unit you feel really good about your first 6 or 7 guys, however it may go. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.